Well, there you have that. As a matter of fact, now they've also published an updated list, released an updated list of what they say. Trying to search for that now. Updated list of oil marketers recommended for criminal investigation. Up to 25 of them ranges from Top Oil and Gas Development Company Limited, Safax Oil and Gas, Pinnacle Contractors, Ocean Energy Trading Services. The list just keeps going on. But just as my colleagues have highlighted now, if the authorities are recommending these guys for prosecution, criminal investigation, and that is being done, and maybe for some reason this happens, should we then say because we're facing this, they should stay action on the matter?
No, I didn't talk about stay in action. Or, well, what I meant and what I am saying is that there should be a gradual prosecution of the matter in such a way that it doesn't disturb the common man.
How can that? How do you recommend?
Exactly, because that would also be if this is as a result of the prosecution that is currently going on. The authorities have not mentioned anything that has to do with prosecution. In fact, they tell us that they have enough supply to go around the country. They've mentioned other systems that could be as a result of that. They also mentioned the reforms process, but they haven't told us anything about sabotage on the part of the marketers that they are prosecuting.
No, there's no sabotage. I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think there's no sabotage. I just think that the system is not working as it should.
But you are attributing it to the
what I'm simply saying. What I'm simply saying is that the oil marketers are not working as effectively as they should work, because right now their thoughts and their actions are being engaged in a lot more ways than one. That's what I'm saying.
Is it in the right? Because a part of the correction system, we're talking about justice and we're saying that it's a correction system, is also remorse. Do you see any collective attempt to be remorseful about what has gone on in the oil subsidy fraud that went on in the last how many years?
Well, personally, no. But if there is, at this time, we may not even be able to know yet. And what is more important than the remorse of a few individuals is a system that works. Because once the system works, irrespective of whether the person is remorseful or rascally, whether the person has good intention or a good businessman, the system will ensure that there are checks and balances. Will there be a perfect system? No. But it will eliminate extremes. The cases that we have been reported here are a lot of extremes. We have cases of people who imported nothing, collecting money for phantom imports. The system should improve beyond that.
Do you also think that the federal government or the government itself is looking inwards enough? Because a host of people feel that, this thing could not have been possible without the cooperation of those on the inside.
Well, when you say government, who is the government? The government is not necessarily the State House, although they are. There are ambits of government that are responsible for certain things. Everything under the federal, the civil service is government. The Ministry of Petroleum Affairs, the NNPC and its subsidiaries, in this case, will be the government arms that are responsible for this. Is it possible that the civil service could have corruption elements? I guess so, but like everywhere else in the world. But what differentiates us, or what differentiates this from a lot of places, is the fact that there are systems that provide for checks and balances that work. Everyone who earns $5,000 a month and signs $500 million every month could possibly get tempted to look for some way to corner some of that amount of money. It's a human tendency. I don't care whether the person is a pastor or worships with angels and all that. If you're working in a place for 20 years and you're signing $500 million every single day, you will have certain temptations. Now, the issue is that what systems do we have in place to ensure that when those kind of temptations come, they remain temptations and they are not pushed into reality? That's what I'm talking about.
Let's also go back to this Ribadu report. The terms and references of the report, I don't know, from the list that you have seen, do you think it made sense? Some of the terms of reference was to take all necessary steps to collect all debts due and owing, to obtain agreements and enforce payment terms by all oil industry operators, and then it goes on and on to design a cross-debt matrix between all agencies and parastatals of the Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources. From what you've seen, do you think that it does meet the terms of reference of the committee?
Well, to be honest, I will think so. You understand? I did not look at the terms in details. I mean, I just read it through because I wasn't studying it. I will think so. And I will think that they should be executed, which is what is also proper. But don't miss the point I've been trying to emphasize all along. Aside from the individual cases, in which case this is one, we need to have a system that will ensure that things like this don't repeat themselves. That's why I keep emphasizing systems. And in the nations where we talk about where people are not corrupt, where we don't have extreme cases, what protects them is systems. We need to have a system in place, a system that people will inquire about, a system that people will ask questions about.
Do you think we have the will to build such a system?
We do. If we have a will to criticize, which is positive, it means that innate inside of us, there is a genuine desire for change. We may not know how to go about that change, but we do want change. The first thing to get into making progress is to want progress. So because we want progress, we want to make change, it means that we need to look at all the possible parameters to ensure that we ensure that system works.
Okay, let's look at this picture. When the 2013 budget was presented,
Yes.
there was a back and forth about $75 per barrel or $80 per barrel. The CBN governor said what is needed is not more revenue, or staying with $75 will not increase the revenue of government, but rather what should be done is there should be transparency. They should close up the loopholes or the leakages coming from the oil industry, NNPC, and NNPC should be more transparent. Now, that was before this report came out. The report comes out now, and towards the end, the recommendation is that the government should take note, or the oil companies should declare any monies paid to government and make it open, the same way the U.S. has done to oil companies listed in the U.S. and all that. This picture as it is, let's wait, based on what you're saying, we can create the systems. Do you think we're ready to do that?
You know, not just are we ready, I think we will be happy to see it work. But you see,
but how would it work? I mean, for instance, according to the report, the minister that set up this committee,
yes,
in the period that she has been in power as the Minister of Petroleum Resources, 7 discretionary licenses were given, according to the report.
Yes.
According to what has been reported. Is it possible that something like this can go on? How can we move ahead?
You know, in May 2011, I was contacted by a Nigerian Canadian who wanted to obtain a license, and we went through the whole hog. And I was taken as an analyst, and to also help, to analyze certain figures for them in terms of profitability and all that, vis-a-vis what they have in Canada and the Nigerian market. We found out that what we have here, even what we call, the dormant oil, the marginal oil fields, were way in excess of what were significant oil fields there. And everything came down to the same thing, the fact that the final approval needed to come to the minister, and there were some issues I would rather not discuss now. But the point is this: as at today, the system for the approval of the licenses is what it is. If for some reason we feel that that system is not perfect, we need to bring it to public debate and ensure that there's a change. That is not quite the way it works in some other places. Does that make it wrong? No, because a system is only as good as the culture and the necessities of an environment. So we need to look at what actually works for us. In terms of in terms of the minister herself and all the things that has been said, we need to understand that the minister is also part of an industry and a system too. She's not going to be the one to look for a contractor or something. There are certain recommendations that are going to be pushed to her.